Hi and welcome to the channel. Today's a little bit of an hi-fi video, so I won't do much more hi-fi, but since then I've bought two amplifiers, well one amplifier and one receiver. Obviously if something comes up that I think is a bit too cheap or cheap enough for me to have a look at and pass on again without losing any money, then I'm going to bring it to the channel. And if I find something that I really want myself, something I'm interested in myself, even though I paid a little bit over the top for this particular item, they're both on their way to me. They haven't been actually sent yet, so when they do come I'll do a review on them. So something else for the channel. And the old hi-fi stakes, still rattling my brains what to do for other things. I may come to that in a future video if I think of something. I've got something in my mind, but whether it's going to work or not I don't know. But anyway, today's video is about buying a cassette deck in 2025. And some, mainly all the pitfalls really. I don't think there's many pluses on these. Something you've got to look out for, you've got to be aware of. If you're buying a cassette deck, a second-hand cassette deck, obviously there are some cassette decks about these days that you can buy brand new. And from what I can gather, they don't sound that great. They're okay. They've got a cheap mechanism in it, and that they're quite expensive, 350 quid, something like that probably. Over the £200 bracket anyway. They don't go up, the frequency response ain't great on them. The eyes there probably only go up to about 12.5k, something like that, frequency wise. So be careful, you're not going to get the nice, the nice top end and all that. It's going to be quite rolled off at the top end, all that kind of stuff. The whale and flutter may not be that great, all that kind of stuff. So the recordings you do may not be that great as well. Anyway, I went over to car boot to help a friend out. Actually, had a few bits and pieces for sale, and while I was over there, my missus collects jigsaws, so she does these 500 piece ones, and they're not hard to get hold of, but they're not easy to get hold of kind of thing. And she buys them second hand. She don't want to pay £6-7 each for them. If she doesn't, just gives them straight back to the charity shop kind of thing. Anyway, I went over there, had a little look round, and this geezer was selling 8 of them for 50p each. So I bought them and actually turned around, and straight away I bumped into the cassette deck you see in front of me here today, in a box. I thought it was the original box, but it weren't the original box. Didn't realise that till I got home. But I see the cassette deck and I thought, oh, blimey, I'm going to have to see what the geezer wants for this. I think, not that I was looking for a cassette deck or anything like that, but you think to yourself, well, I'll get that just for a matter of interest, see what it's about, see if it's any good, maybe I'll do a review on it, that kind of stuff, see if it works, all that stuff. So I said to him, how much the cassette deck? He said, oh, it's fully working. He said, I tried it out the other day, it's lovely, it all sounds nice. He said, I only want 20 quid for it. So I said, oh, right, okay. I looked at it, looked inside, and the heads all looked nice and clean. They didn't look like they'd been used much. The actual mechanism inside looked clean, because if you look on eBay and places like that where people take the picture, always nice to have a look inside. I seen one recently, it was about £60. He said it all plays perfectly and all that stuff, but when he actually took a photograph of inside, it was absolutely caked up with dust. Even the pinch roller and all that stuff had so much bits of dust all over it that it's going to get into the tape and everything. Needs a good clean, so it wouldn't have been that great, you know what I mean? It'd been a bit like patchy kind of recordings, that kind of stuff. I would have thought with something like that, with all that kind of dirt getting in there, it's getting all over the end. That would have really needed a good clean. Anyway, I looked inside this one, it looked pretty clean. Well, it looked very clean to me. Well, it looks in good condition. The actual rest of it looks in good condition, the housing and everything else. So I said, well, you take 15 for it, and he took it straight away. So that obviously raises a few suspicions that that's come down really quick with no hesitation. Probably could have got it for a tenner actually. Thinking, well, does it really work? But that kind of price, I'm not too bothered, because I thought, well, worst way is I'll bring it home. If it doesn't work, I'll try and repair it. And if failing that, I'll put it back together. And I'll either put it out for the junk man, or maybe I'll sell it for a tenner to someone that actually knows quite a bit more about cassette decks than I do, which is going to be millions of them people about. So this is what the video's about. If you're buying a cassette deck and it's working now, even on eBay they're going to say it's working now. It doesn't mean it's working 100%. It doesn't mean it's going to work for a very long time. It may only last 6 months or something like that. I've been looking at a few adverts just before I've done this actually, and a few of them do put that this may require a service. Some bloke had one on there, he's changed the belts. I'll take that, it's a bit of a pinch of salt with some people. Some people actually do some pictures, they show you what, taking the belts off or whatever and changing belts. That's great, you've got a bit more confidence behind that it's been done. But some people just say new belts, think it's working, no one's going to take it apart and have a look. And like I say, one said actually put them there, change the belts, it's working, but I can't guarantee how long it's going to last. And you think, well, have you changed the belts, haven't you? So just something to bear in mind, because changing the belts on these can be a pain in the bum. It really can, and this particular one is one of them. There is worse ones out than this, I would have thought. There's no such word as worse, so I'm going to get pulled up with that. especially my wife's listening, there is others that are worse, a lot worse than this at changing belts, but there's obviously some that are easy, like that little Sharp GF 8080, just literally taking the back off, and the belts are pretty much there, nice and easy to do, which would have been great with this particular unit. By the way, I haven't said what this is. This is an Hawaii M450, and that's what it is, the AD M450. Couldn't find out a lot of information online about this actually. Hardly anything at all. I think it came out about 1980, 79, 80, something like that. Got the VU meters, which look quite nice, they're fairly big in that. I managed to find one on a forum abroad somewhere, I'm not too sure what country it is. Some bloke's got one here, there's a picture of it here. But other than that, I couldn't really find much more information. Though they did do the same model, but with LEDs here, with the LEDs along this front bit, and that was called the ADL450U. And that's it there. So they did do, and these retailed for about $295 when they come out, these units. So and one thing I do like about this, and we'll go on a bit about the repairs and that in a minute, but so one thing I do like about this, it hasn't got, I'll put a picture up on the screen hopefully of another video I've done. You know when you press play and record, this is fully automatic. This has got no button in it, we're not pushing any buttons down. We've got all touch controls here, little touch controls. So on some of these, when you press record, it actually pushes inside the unit, it'll push a latch, and it'll push one of these kind of, if you can imagine this a lot smaller, but it's got a big long switch here, usually silver, and you have a bit of plastic down the bottom here with a latch on it, and as you press record, just bring it up here so you can see it, it'll push that up, and the bar inside will go up, and it'll make some contacts, and when you let go of the record, it'll come back down. So that's the play and record functions there, done on a switch, got loads of contacts on that switch. And they get dirty over a period of time, and when you get a bad recording or a bit iffy recording, or one channel drops out on the play or record, this is the switch you should go to first. Like if you've got a tape recorder where one channel's dropping, it sounds distorted, it's not sounding right, give that switch a good clean with a bit of contact cleaner, because that's where your problem is. And just do the play and record, backwards and forwards, on and off, and that'll move the switch up and down, up and down, up and down inside like that, and that should clear it. So yeah, so this hasn't got one of them. This is like done logically for a chip, which is going to give a much better contact. It's going to be a solid contact when it's in record. It's going to be a solid contact when it's in play. It's going to be solid contact. We haven't got to worry about cleaning anything like that. So that's great. These little touch control ones are great. Some people may not like them because they want the old clunky, they want the old push down. That's great as well. I do like them, but they can cause them a little bit of a problem. So, you know, when you're buying something like this, I'd buy something that's a bit newer to where we are now, 2025. If you bought something in the 70s, you're probably going to have trouble with these switches. It's going to be a bit out of spec, capacitors and that kind of thing. The belts are going to need changing probably. You may get lucky. Some belts do last, these rubber belts do last a long time. In this particular model it didn't. This is, let's say, 80, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, something like that. But if you've got something into the 90s, maybe late 90s or something like that, then chances are the belts are probably going to last you a little bit. They're probably okay. I'm not saying they are, but they're probably okay. And you do see a lot of cassettes on eBay. Like it was an RT3151, the one I had before on there. It said brand new in the box, 395. And you think, well, that's great, it's brand spanking new. But I can guarantee you the belts have probably gone in that. And also in that particular machine, there's a few parts around this particular mechanism here that goes, they split, they crack. It's a cog that cracks. So you're going to have to take that cog out. So it's a bit of a pain to do, but it can be done. It's not as painful as this one. This is a bit of hard work, this machine. And it didn't help that the belts are all still attached, even though they're gone. They're gooey, all gooey. When I say gooey, it was going everywhere. I haven't got any rags here. No, I haven't, but I was filling up these wet wipes and everything, tons and tons of them, getting all the goo off the mechanism. It all stuck on my fingers. It's it does come off obviously, but it's nigh impossible to get off kind of thing. And you end up touching this and you touch something else. It was just a complete nightmare. Getting the mechanism out was a pain in the bum as well, if you didn't know how that front door actually come off. This little clip here, I've got the thing here handy. I should have had it here handy. Here it is over here. Just sussing out, this needed to come out so this mechanism could go into the machine. So this bit needed to come out because we had a glass panel here as well, which is over there, and it won't pull through, it was stopping it. So just getting that off, no instructions online, a lot of trial and error, and finally I got it off anyway. It literally just pulled, it does actually pull out, but you're thinking it's going to go up or down, that kind of thing, but eventually just keep pulling and a bit of a wiggle. It's kind of got a clip it eventually comes out, and lucky enough the clips are not broken on there. But one thing with this also, before I mentioned, obviously you've got belts in here as well to change, but it's getting to it, and it's got some screws in. These are very, very tiny screws. Now I've got about 50 screws there at the side. Do not know where any of them go, to be honest with you. So I'm going to have a bit of a problem when I come to put this back together, which screw goes where. But getting them screws out, you're always going to get an odd screw or one or two screws that you want to get out. That's an absolute nightmare, and it wasn't here. These are done so tight, and they're such a very small screw, and I'm just going to give you an instance how small these screws are. They're that kind of big. Hopefully you can see that on the camera, it's focused. They're so tiny, and the head on a couple of them started to go, even though I thought I had the right screwdriver. So my son-in-law, lucky enough, got an array of tools, and that's what you would want for something like this. You just wouldn't want a basic set of screwdrivers. You probably want an array of tools, and he turned up with something like this. We've got a load of attachable things, and that this is who's made this? I can't whatever make that is, tools. Then he's turned up with something like this as well, which has got an array of fittings. These are quite Tool Check Plus, whatever that is. But anyway, and another screwdriver somewhere. Anyway, we went for quite a few bits and pieces, and this is the one that done some screws, and one of them out of here done some others in here, believe it or not. And I had a screwdriver myself as, oh no, this is the one, sorry, this is the one out of that kit. That screwdriver was just undo the case. And that one there in that kit undid a couple of others, which were very, very hard. You're going to get them now and again, but in this particular case, there was a nightmare hard. So that's it. So now in this particular model here, I've managed to get it all apart. It's getting the belts for it next. Now I've managed to get it all cleaned up. It's got two motors in here. I'm just going to move that across there. In this particular model, it's got two motors. Now, what I do normally is, say normally, I don't do this that often, but it's just I buy a belt kit, something like this, because this I can't find any information about this. It's actually getting the correct belts for this is going to be nigh impossible. Is get one of these belt kits where you get a load of belts like that. I don't want to get them all out over the floor, but it's about 50 rubber belts. But these are the square type, square ones, and you get that for about £6 or £7. Just so you thought it had my address in there, but it didn't. Yes, so £6 or £7 you get them for. But I need the flat ones as well. This particular motor here does two belts. It does a square one at the top, and square one at the top and a flat one at the bottom, which goes onto the main drive unit at the back here. So yeah, I've had to measure that, and I bought a 50 pack anyway. But just to make sure I had it in that range, because they do tell you the range in that pack, and to measure it. All I've done was I used a piece of solder, and I don't think I can actually show you any. I may be able to give some kind of idea. But I put the motor in, it's out at the moment, put the motor in and just literally went round and bent the piece of solder round to where it's got to go. So it ended up something like, there's a big at one end obviously where that big flywheel is, and small at the other. But you get the idea. But with the solder you can kind of mould it into position, and you're getting not 100% accurate but fairly accurate once you take how long that belt's going to be. So anyway, I ordered a 50 pack, and that size is amongst the 50 pack, but it's coming from China, so that's going to take a while. In the meantime, I went over, it's going to China, coming from China there through eBay, but also went to AliExpress and actually just picked up a couple of belts that are very, very similar to size, within 5mm size either way of this. And they're coming as well. They're not expensive. The postage was £2.66, the belts were only 43p each, something like that I think. So I've got something more more definite, shall I say, but hopefully that 50 pack will cover it as well. But so yes, I've got to spend not a lot more. I've probably spent another £7 or £8 trying to get it going now. I haven't actually tried it out yet, and to get this going, it's a solenoid here. These are quite well made. I'll take a picture and show you inside, but it's a solenoid here, big old solenoid here, which does the auto stop. And taking this out, I'm not too sure where this come out of, so this is kind of lurking, and the actual front, where's the eject? The actual front mechanism. It don't even work, the eject, but the front mechanism, hopefully it will when I get it going again. Front mechanism is attached to that somehow as well, so it's going to be a bit all over the place trying to get this back together once I've managed to get the belts in there. But what I would say is that if you're buying one of these, this is what the video's about really. I'll come back to this, hopefully I'm going to mend it. It's either going to be like in a video in a month's time or whatever, it's mended, or it's not. I mean, I don't even know if it works yet. I'm doing all this and I still don't know if it's actually going to play or record or do anything yet. It may not do nothing yet. But obviously I've got to find out by getting the belts. I could hear the motors, when I press play I could hear the motors going, but obviously nothing was happening because the belts were knackered. But whether actually a sound comes out of it there's anything else wrong with it, I don't know, so I could be in a bit of a pickle there anyway, and it, like I say, could end up going in the bin. But the video today really is about, if you're buying a cassette deck, even though it's saying it's working on eBay now, you may not get much more life out of it. And if you don't get much more life out of it and you've got to get it repaired, it's going to cost you more than the cassette deck it's cost you originally, I would have thought. I'm not being funny, for the time I put in here so far, and I still haven't finished it yet, if you've got a really hard one like this, it's probably going to cost you £150 thereabouts, I'm guessing £200 maybe to get fixed. You know what I mean, to get the belts changed and that, and to give it a bit of a service and that. You're probably looking at that line, because it is a bit of a lengthy process. Something like that little Sharp GF8080, that boom box I had, probably going to cost you £40 or £50, £40 maybe £50 to get the belts replaced. A couple of belts, the proper ones, they do the proper belts for that particular machine, get them installed and that geezer taking it apart. They're fairly straightforward. I thought, you know, it'd easy to do it in, you know, half hour, an hour tops, you know what I mean, that's absolute tops, but I mean, probably 20 minutes, half hour, probably going to charge you £40, £50, something like that. But for here, I think, you know, this is more involved, especially when he's doing a lot of cleaning, he's got to clean it all up, which I had to do here. I think you're probably looking around the £150 mark here in the UK. I could be a little bit out, maybe you want to put a few suggestions what people have been charging you to do your cassettes, repair them, etc. Give people an idea who's actually buying them. What it's going to cost them to get repaired. So, you know, if you're buying a cassette, I would say stick to something. Maybe have a look what's inside before you buy it. So any belts that need replacing, see if you can get some. Put your model in, type it into Google, see if you can get some inside pictures, see if you can see anyone that's repaired them, any videos on YouTube that someone's actually repaired it. Give you a bit more confidence that if something goes wrong, you can do it yourself maybe, rather than get it to a shop or something like that, if you can find one. And that's it really, you know, just be a bit careful. Don't go by, I would suggest that you don't go by people on eBay that say the belts have been replaced, because some of the machines I see on there, these are people just selling knickknacks. And I see some machines, I've looked them up in the past, and I thought that's quite a complicated machine to put some belts in. Has he done it? Was he just saying because it works, the belts are new? And who's going to check? Who's going to undo the machine and get into the gubbins of it to check the thin belts are new? And like I say, one bloke did cover himself, say it could go wrong any time. Obviously, it's not just the belts; it could be mechanically, or the electronics could go wrong. But it kind of covers in for the belts as well if they haven't been replaced. So be extra careful. Don't spend too much. Be extra careful. And if you're buying one that's not working, expect the worst, you know what I mean, expect the worst, you know, it's something you could probably get home and end up sticking in the bin. But for me, it was over the car boot, 15 quid, it was worth the gamble. It didn't work, even though he said it did. But I kind of expected that, to be honest, in a way. So yeah, so hopefully I'm going to get it going, but I'm not going to promise anything. But today's video really is just, you know, be extra careful buying, because people say to change belts, how easy to change that belt, how much more life you're going to get out of the machine. These are old, try and get something that's newer towards this end, you know, coming up into the, like, maybe late 90s, late 90s, something like that, rather than going back too far, because these belts do eventually go, you know, they either go up or they just lose, you know, they're not as elasticated as they were, they just go all loose and floppy and it doesn't work properly. Oh, one other thing very, very quickly before I go, is that I had to replace, just want to give you, if I can find the thing I replaced it with, it's one in this drawer, so just excuse my bald head. Well, I'll get this drawer out, because there's a couple of things here I'm going to need here actually. Let's take that bit out there and this bit here. I needed to replace, I thought I've got all the goo off now, I thought it's not going too bad, it's took me a while, but I've got completely messy, not too bad, but there's one part on here, it's like a little plastic cog, but it's got a metal spindle to it, and on that metal spindle was a piece of rubber. And normally, most of the time, them rubbers that I've had, not that I've had many, but them rubbers are good, they're okay. It's like you get the rubbers on the big spindles here, the big wheels. The rubbers on them are still okay, they haven't kind of gone all gooey, they haven't gone, you know, floppy or anything like that. They're okay, they're still workable, but on that particular spindle there, the rubber, as soon as I started taking bits apart, I put my finger on it by accident. As I took this completely apart, put my finger on it, I thought, oh, I've got some more gunk on me, where's that come from? And I realised that rubber had actually started to go all gooey, so I had to take it off, take all the rubber off. So now I'm left with a spindle with no rubber on, so it's not the easiest thing to find a piece of rubber to put over that's still going to work. Now, on my Sharp RT3151, I did look at another person's video, well, I don't know if it's a video, I think it actually went to a web page, and he suggested this is like a rubber hose. This is what I use for cleaning at the moment, so forget this bit. It's like a rubber kind of hose that they use maybe in fish tanks or something like that as an air supply. You kind of push that over something and the air bubbles come out the other end, something like that. Just a rubber hose with a hole in the middle kind of thing. And this one here, I think is about probably 6mm, something like that. and that kind of fitted 5 or 6 millimeters. That kind of fitted over the spindle. I haven't got a spindle here. Let's have a look if I dig out a little screwdriver, which I should have had there, but I've moved everything about. It's probably not. But if you can imagine this is a spindle, maybe my piece of solder, it kind of just pushed onto it. Managed to find an air there, and you just cut it to the right length, and then when the spindle goes, the rubber goes as well. So that worked nicely for the Sharp RT315 one. So that was great. But this particular unit, that rubber was going to be far too big. And I found a straw. This is like a straw, plastic straw, that I used to go on the old aerosol cans. And lucky enough, I just kind of heated it up. I mean, it's quite warm at the moment, but I think you could probably put it in fairy liquid or something like that anyway to heat it up, just make it a bit more malleable. So I found the size. I cut it to size first of all, made sure it's still nice and round, because sometimes when you cut these, you kind of climp it and it goes squash. But just make sure it's all nice and round still, which it was. But I just double check and just put the spin, like I say, just got it warmed up a little bit in my hands. But if it was a colder weather, I think you'd probably have to put it in some warm water, and just pushed it over the spindle, which I'm not going to, because this solder's a bit, have I managed to do it? Oh, I thought it may not work because the solder's a bit, what do you call it, soft, but there you go. So it's actually, and it was a nice tight bond, it was great, but I was a bit worried this being plastic that it'd slip going onto this other rubber cog. So I tested it out and it felt fine. It seems to be doing the job. Now what I would suggest, if it didn't do the job and you use a piece of plastic, obviously it's quite smooth, is maybe just go around with a little piece of sandpaper, fine sand, very, very fine sandpaper, just give it a little bit of a rough edge. That may help. But obviously if you had a piece of rubber that's the same size, that's probably going to do it even better. But in this particular case, I used that straw, and that seems to have cured that. Like I say, when I turn that particular wheel, the other wheels go round as well. So that's that bit done. I think I've got me bits of rubber I need, my rubber belts, should I say, not bits of rubber belts, the square ones. I think I've got the right sizes, or near enough that they're going to work. Let's just wait for that flat one to come through, a big flat one, to go to the main wheel now, and hopefully I'm going to put that all back together, find out where all these screws go. And actually I took a few leads out. I was just putting these out random tools starting off, and I should have labelled them all up really, because I've got no way of knowing which one gets. Lucky enough, a few of these are different sizes, lucky enough, different pin sizes, but you know, so some's got 6 pins, some's got 5, but there's a couple that's got the same amount of pins, so hopefully I'm going to get them in the right place. Can't find out much information, but I think if I go onto this, if I find some more information about this deck here now, I've only just started looking today, that may have very similar gubbins inside, just these meters have been changed, so I may be able to find out if I can't suss it out myself. So fingers crossed, we're going to get this going. If we don't, it's going to be in the bin, but today's video is about just be careful buying a cassette deck. You know, in the 2025 we're in now, it's going to be hard for you to get one, I think, that's working as it should, you know, really well. You know, expect a bit of wow and flutter, some dropouts, all that kind of stuff. If you're buying a second-hand one today, have a good look at condition, hopefully, you know, look at the edge, look how much dust is in there and that, and like I say, be very, very careful, you know, wary, should I say, not careful, that you, at some stage them belts are probably going to need replacing. That's it. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.